Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. I have a big smile on my face because it's the return of one of my favorite types of events in the entire game, the challenge tournaments. And over the years, these have ranged from very, very niche to very general, and in this case, we have a more generally accessible one, that being epics only, and I guess all of the core dungeons as the weeks progress here in the near term, but for now, it is epics only Fire Night, and we have 3 days to pursue this challenge. So if we take a look at the tournament itself, unfortunately, there's no void shard here at the top, but they do have some pretty, I guess, potentially juicy rewards. The Prism Jewel, so you can use that in the Soul Summon event going on right now, or the Soul Summon pool going on right now. And we'll take a quick look at that later just to see how many summons 45 jewels is worth. But I think also I want to draw attention to the fact that there is 6-star Relentless Epic up for grabs. And so if you do have an easy group, I clearly do not have one, then you could get yourself some Relentless gear. And this is a fairly niche type of tournament that not a lot of people are going to participate in. However, I will preface this once again by saying this is epics only, so it is fairly easy to do. If you're early game, that might be difficult, but once you progress into mid, late, and definitely end game, finding some epics that can do Fire Night, just normal mode, is not that complicated. And some people could probably even pull it off on hard mode. So keep an eye out on your group and see if it's going to be more accessible. This one, I mean, you already see the topper is already beyond the maximum reward, and I usually don't go past the maximum unless I really have to win. And so I'm probably not going to try that hard. We'll see again how many summons this is worth. I haven't looked at that event yet, and to see how far I plan to go, but I do plan to at least participate, just because again, I know a lot of people aren't going to be maxing this out. And especially if you are skipping the Incarnate Fusion, this is a great opportunity for you to use your energy over the next 3 days. Okay, so checking in on the Soul Summon pool, looks like 45 is only one summon, which is unfortunate, but the event does go on for 3 more days. And honestly, I guess the desired Soul Summon pool, meaning they're selecting very desirable champions. I guess that's my interpretation of what that means. So I'm not going to go through them all, but a bunch of good legendaries, Narcisse, Ancora, Armons, Elakath, Kymar, you name it, it's pretty much there. So there's lots of useful legendaries for a lot of people there. Same thing for the epics: Godseeker, Neri, Ugo, Deacon, Allure, Stag Knight, Rector, lots of good options. So if you happen to get any soul for any of these guys, it's not going to be a bad thing. And then looks like it's 2-star to 6-star across both of the rarities. No rares in there, thankfully. So don't have to worry about that. So as always, this is one of those things where you kind of have to evaluate whether or not it's worth it for you, because you could do all of that Fire Night work and literally walk away with a 2-star epic soul for a champion that you already have at 2 stars. That's a possibility. Or you could walk away with a 6-star legendary soul for someone you may or may not have. So keep that in mind. Decide for yourself what is worth it for you. So hopping over to the dungeon itself, let's talk about what is the best stage to do. I highly recommend doing normal mode for this one. I did give hard mode a shot with a interesting composition, but it didn't work. At least hard mode stage 6, that is. It didn't work when I got to the Fire Night wave. It was close, but it wasn't perfect, and it would need basically RNG to actually make it work, which is just not reliable. So I digress. But as usual, I would say stage 25 is the best to do because it's the best gear quality for the normal mode stages. It is not the most energy efficient, but it is the best gear quality if you care about that. Stage 20 is good. It's a good balance, and it's the best points per energy, so it's the most energy efficient stage, and it's also somewhat easier to do, or much easier to do than stage 21 through 25, just because enemy max HP is not capped, and you don't have the turn meter reduction effect passive as well. And then if you're earlier on in the game in your progression, stage 16 is tried and true. It's Void Affinity, super easy to blitz through it, and you still have a chance to get 6-star gear. So in my case, I am endgame despite being free to play, which means I do have access to a lot of epic champions, and including empowered ones, now that we do have empowerment going on. So I threw together a team here, pretty basic. We have turn meter control with Allure. She has positive affinity, so once we get the shield down, it's basically down forever. So she can single-handedly handle that on her own. We have decreased speed from Royal Guard to help maintain that turn meter suppression. Deacon Armstrong are a primary debuffer, but you could also use Stag Knight for sure. But Speed Aura is useful here. Then the Leech helps heal up if we need it. And then we have 2 nukers. We have 3 AoE nukers for the waves. We have Royal Guard, Fenax, and Magnar. But Royal Guards also take down enemy max HP for the boss. And then again, just 2 more nukers to handle the waves. So I'll go ahead and run this stage for you guys. The team is somewhere between 2.5 and 3-ish minutes. I guess, AI overrides you can kind of tune it however you'd like. I tend not to share them all the time because I don't think they're as crucial for stuff like this. But for example, I have Deacon opening with the A2 and not using it just so that we can have it ready to go for the second wave. But again, you can just kind of leave him to do his devices. They might get turns. It's not guaranteed that they're never going to take turns. This is a greedy composition, shall we say. So I could definitely go in there and add some sort of control champion if I was really scared about people dying. But I think we could take the hits. And again, we do have the leech if we need to heal up. So it's not guaranteed that they're not going to take turns. But generally speaking, we do have a lot of turn meter control on the composition overall. So you can see their Allure is clearly in Relentless, so she's going to do a lot of turns. I guess the most important thing to keep in mind with your team is that, one, if you're above 230 speed for normal mode, you can go at a 2-to-1 ratio relative to the boss, meaning that you don't necessarily have to worry about the hits on the shield as much if you're tuning that. And so I think most, or maybe half of the team here is above 230. I think Allure and Deacon. But the other thing you want to think about is that, of course, you want to make sure that you have enough hits when you get to the shield. So AI overrides for that, basically make everyone open with their A1, as we'll kind of see. Or you could most certainly bring in an ally attack champion like Ferric and the Fat, Catacomb Counselor, stuff like that in terms of the epics. So minute and a half. Getting through the waves. It was a bit sketchy there in wave 1, but again, I'm confident that we can survive. And even if Fenix dies, it's not the end of the world. His hits aren't crucial as far as success in the dungeon, so it's not that big of a deal. But this is the worst case, and that's why I have it tuned so that at the end of the day, Deacon will always break the shield with the AoE decreased defense. And if Allure gets any Relentless procs, it'll just be easier for everyone else to do damage on the boss after the shield is broken. So again, having it tuned for the number of hits that everyone's going to do to add up to 12, such that Deacon breaks the shield with the AoE decreased defense, so we're ready to do damage as soon as possible. And from here on, like I said, Allure basically solo keeps the turn meter down, not a big deal, and then everyone else is doing their job, just doing some damage. So Magnar, again, HP based nuker, doing a lot of damage. We'll talk about the builds as well afterward. Fenax, again, really strong, one of the strongest single target single target A1s in the game. And I guess he gets the final blow there, block revive, cool. But yeah, so 2.5 minutes, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 minutes. This is kind of a faster side of the runs, but that's pretty much it. All epics, a little bit of empowerment tier that just helps them hit a little bit harder and be a little bit tankier, but it is most certainly not crucial. Same thing with blessings. You can see some of them have blessings, but we have a couple of 1-2 star crushing rends, which isn't really doing much. It's like the first hit ignores a bit of defense, so it's kind of negligible. And then the cruelties help us do more damage by lowering the defense, but again, it's not crucial. That's more about doing more damage, which equates to slightly faster runs. All right, so let's quickly run through the champion builds. And the main thing I want to highlight here is that I didn't change any of their gear. All of these epics were already built, and I just used them as is and threw them in a composition. That's typically how I approach these types of events. I don't worry about rebuilding people, just because, again, on my account in the end game, I have a lot of epics built, a lot of rares built, a lot of legendaries built. So whatever the restrictions are, generally speaking, I can throw together a team with the gear that they have on, and I prefer to do that if possible. So Royal Guard up first. He is in a Savage and a Perception set. He is most certainly overtuned for this boss, but he was built for Dark Fae, and I just kind of preserved the amount of accuracy he had. So 4,200 or 42,000 on the HP, 4,500 on the attack, 214 on the speed, full crit rate, 253 on the crit damage, and 358 on the accuracy. And when it comes to the blessing, crushing rend, ideally that'd be 6-star, but beggars can't be choosers. I could probably pick something else because it's so low of a tier, but it's not really that big of a deal in my case. For masteries, we came down the offense and support tree. We ended on flawless execution, which is somewhat outdated, I will admit. But for me, it just kind of works with his enemy max HP hit just to get a little bit more crit damage. But I could easily change that out for War Master at some point just to get a little bit more damage when it comes to bosses. And you can see here we kind of have like the nuking split on the offense side of things for whenever he opens with the takedown. And then coming down the kind of standard debuffer route with Sniper to help the decrease defense chance on the A1, but also to increase the chance of doing his effects on the A3 hamstring. Next up, we have Magnar, one of the best HP-based nukers that are epics. Savage and a bit of stone skin there for him, 1-piece stone skin just for the extra HP. On him, total stats 86,000 on the HP, 2,500 almost on the defense, 177 on the speed. He is an HP percentage boost, so he's very, very slow. Full crit rate, 220 on the crit damage, and didn't really care about the accuracy or resistance because he is basically just a filler nuker. Again, no blessing on him, haven't gotten a soul, but I'd probably go Crushing Rend if I had it at 6-star. And then for the masteries, we basically just didn't finish them, but we came down to make sure that he has Helm Smasher so he can ignore a bit of defense, or has a chance to ignore defense. And then the standard kind of nuker-ish masteries here on the offense tree, and then a little bit of the nuker type stuff on the defense tree, a little bit more tanky, a little less damage from AoE attacks, stuff like that. Next up, we have my Deacon Armstrong in a speed, and perception build. And honestly, I feel bad for my Deacon because over the years, he's been like that secondary, tertiary speed champion for Arena that's just kind of filler. And his gear has been stolen so many times as I give it to other people who need it more. And he just has like the leftovers and hand-me-downs. But anyways, I digress. 55,000 on the HP, 3,600 on the defense, 284 on the speed, and then 400 and almost 50 on the accuracy. So pretty accurate, but he's not like super amazing in any area for me, at least at the moment. But he does come in clutch in the Curse City for sure. And then for the blessing, it did go with cruelty. I was lucky enough to get a 5-star soul for him, and I always like to put cruelty on champions who already do decreased defense, so they can just do it more. And then for the mastery is pretty much standard debuffer route, hugging the left-hand side of the offense tree, coming down and ending on War Master, and then the support tree hugging the right side, the debuffer route, so ending with a sniper and Master Hexer for the decreased defense and the leech. Next up, we have Fanax, one of my favorite epics in the entire game. He is in a lethal set, one of the few champions on my account in a lethal set, a full lethal set. But on him, built like a nuker, 37,000 on the HP, 5,700 on the attack, 212 on the speed, full crit rate, 235 on the crit damage, and then 246 on the accuracy, which is kind of just enough for like faction wars and stuff like that. He's not built, generally speaking, to do debuffs in a PvE per se. For the blessing, we do once again have Crushing Rend. It's only 2-star. Ideally, that would be 6-star. Hopefully, we do have him on the wish list for souls in the Altar of Souls. And then for masteries, we again coming down the offense and support tree. Primarily on the offense side, coming down to Helm Smasher, of course, we want to ignore even more defense than the lethal set. A bunch of damage boosting masteries, as well as Cycle of Violence in case he does a lot of damage. He can reduce the cooldown. Although, generally speaking, I do use him for the A1, so that's not necessarily the most useful mastery. And then a little bit of the support tree, giving him some extra accuracy, just because, again, he's not really built with a ton of accuracy. Evil Eye as well. And I didn't really opt for Sniper Master Hexer on him, just because, again, I don't really use him as a debuffer, but he does have a little bit of accuracy just from all the bonuses from other areas. And then lastly, we have my lovely Allure in a Relentless set, as we saw Blood Shield as well for Scarab King. Total stats here, 38,000 on the HP, 3,500 on the attack, 2,500 on the defense, 252 on the speed, full crit rate in order to land the critical hits on the A1 to reduce turn meter, 176 on the crit damage, so a little bit of crit damage, nothing amazing, nothing crazy, and 363 on the accuracy. She is built for the Dark Fae, and again, the Scarab King. Just like Deacon, she does have a 5-star blessing, that being cruelty, because I generally speaking use her when I'm going against a single target boss. And so in single target boss encounters with her A1 triple hitter, you can stack up cruelty very, very quickly on the target, and so that is very useful to have that on her. When it comes to masteries, kind of once again, a standard debuffer route, but she does have a triple hitter on the A1, therefore we come over to Giant Slayer through the center, and then we're hugging the left-hand side of the offense tree and the right-hand side of the support tree. I don't really care about her weak version of decreased defense, so I did not go with a Sniper or Master Hexer, but there would be an argument to go for Methodical since she is built for a little bit of damage, just because she's going to be spamming her A1 a lot. So when it comes to substitutions, as I mentioned a few times already, epics are very common. A lot of people have a lot of them built, depending on how far you are in your progression. So I'm not going to go through every single possible option that you could use to comprise a sensible Fire Knight team, but I will highlight a few of the most notable ones that come to mind. One of the most crucial things when it comes to normal mode Fire Knight is, of course, turn meter control. In this case, I'm highlighting Allure, but her job could most certainly be done by a Fenchi, for example, could be done by a Skimfos down here, turn meter still. Geomancer has a turn meter still. I think Phylja has a turn meter steal. So, champions like that who either decrease turn meter with a consistent ability, or they can steal turn meter, same thing, effectively. Debuffers, I showcase Deacon, but of course Stagnite can work, decrease speed on the A1, and then AoE decrease defense and decrease attack. And you could argue that he would be better, potentially better for this composition, just because we might take a hit, and therefore it would be nicer to have the decrease attack on the enemy waves if they do take a turn. So, argument could be made there. Gorlos Helma, another option. AoE decrease defense. Tayrail could be good. He has turn melee control on the A3 as well, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. If you're struggling to get the shield down, then of course you can bring in, you can have a slower team than 230, like I mentioned earlier, and just bring in an ally attack champion. So of course Ferric and the Fat comes to mind. Catacomb Counselor can work. Morag Bronzelock has like a mini ally attack, which is, again, that can be enough just to get a couple more hits into the shield. So there are lots of options. And then for the supports, there's way too many to name. You know, whoever you have, basically. If you're worried about people dying, you know, Rector Drath can work. You know, there's so many revivers. Doom Priest can work. Vogoth can work. Triple hitter A1. Leech, as well as being able to take tank damage from AoE attacks. So plug and play. Whoever you have, put them together. If you need more support, take out a DPS. Slower run, but it's going to be more successful. Kind of play that by ear depending on what you need. So yeah, there you have it. That is my team for the Epic Fire Knight tournament. And like I said, I'm still deciding how far I want to go in the tournament. I probably will end up going for the free summon, but personally, I'm still working on the Incarnate Fusion. I do have to finish Spider probably today, ideally, if I want to do all of these things. I do have lots of gems to spare, so it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. But nonetheless, I do have to focus on the champion training to get the legendary tome, and I'd like to champion train the last of the fusion epics to be a little bit more efficient with that event. So all of that needs to be considered, but probably I'll end up going for the free summon just to see what happens and get my 2-star epic soul. Let me know in the comment section down below what team you guys are going to be using for this event, assuming you're going to be participating, and hopefully you do get an easy group, so it's a lot easier to top your group and or get the relentless gear near the top. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below, and if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.